Second time's the charm. All right. Today is an interesting day, to say the least. Normally I go live at 9. I pushed it back because today my daughter left with her boyfriend to go do travel PT for 13 weeks. And then they'll get a couple weeks off. And then they'll do another travel PT for 13 weeks. And then they'll get a couple weeks off. And then they'll do travel PT. And they're going to be traveling the country for the next who knows how long. And I am so excited for her. And I'm also very sad. I'm going to miss her so much. But that's a topic for another day, believe it or not, because I had already had planned and didn't think of this when that they were leaving today. So what I really want to talk about, and part of this is because of the challenges that I've had the last week and a half. I came down with COVID. I was in Vegas, and I don't know if it was being at this conference and sitting next to and around a whole bunch of people, or in the gym those couple of mornings that I worked out, or on the plane on the way out there or on the way back. But I came back, and pretty much not the next day, but the day after. So I don't know what the incubation period is anymore, but I was flat out for days, 5 days almost. I had one day in the middle that I had a little bit of energy and did a few things, and then I was flat out again for a couple days. And I see this so often where women are not making themselves a priority. They are not, they're putting off appointments. They are putting off taking time off. They are putting off spending quality time alone, like quality time alone, not just binging Netflix with a glass of wine or, mowing down some, a bag of chips or a box of cookies. How long have you been putting off spending quality time with your loved ones, quality time with your friends? I know some people who got to this stage of burnout who basically said they work, they eat, they sleep, nothing else. They had no friends. They had let all of their friendships really lapse. The only friendship work type thing they did was with a few people at work, and that wasn't very often. So I really want to talk to you about how do you prioritize yourself? And it's not going to be what you think. We're not going to sit here and talk about all of the self-care kinds of things. Yes, that is part of prioritizing yourself. However, the work that I do with clients, I focus on inside out. Okay? So it's an inside job. If all we do is try to change all of these outside elements, these outside things that are going on in our life, or that we are doing or not doing, that's not going to change, because this thing up here, this habit brain, our logical brain thinks, our prefrontal cortex thinks, oh, that makes sense. I'll just change what I'm doing, and that will, it'll be fine. Well, if that were the case, if that worked, then anybody who wanted to lose weight would lose weight immediately. Anybody who wanted to stop drinking could stop drinking immediately. Anybody who wanted to stop an addiction could stop an addiction immediately. It doesn't always work that way. We have a habit brain that is trying to keep us safe, trying to be efficient. And when I say efficient, so it's trying to seek pleasure, avoid pain. And when I say avoid pain, I literally mean it is trying to keep you from dying. Because there are things that you do that may not really put you in danger of your life. However, your brain thinks it does. So let me give you an example. Growing up, I wanted to be a part of the group. I had 4 older siblings and 3 younger siblings. And, the 4 older ones, they were the 4 older ones. They got to do different stuff than us younger kids. And there was only a couple years in between, literally. But they were, they had different privileges. And I always wanted to be a part of that. And that need and that want to belong, wanting to belong in a friend group, wanting to belong, that created habits in me of ways of behaving that really no longer serve me. And my brain literally thinks at times that some of the things that I'm doing are really putting my life in danger when really they're not. Whether that's um, hanging out with a big group of people, or even just, or let's say I know that there's a group of people getting together and I'm not invited. That trigger of not being invited, of not belonging, is the brain is saying you're not safe. Now, how does this relate to what we're talking about? We have habits that we have created that keep us from scheduling those doctor's appointments, from taking time off, from spending quality time alone, from taking a vacation where we're not working. We have different habits, and they are based on the needs that we have. Need to belong, need to be loved, need for achievement, need for recognition. All of these different, there's probably 6 to 10 different needs, core needs. There's really kind of 4 main ones, and there's a couple surrounding each one of those. So that's why there's like 7 to 12. But those needs are what drive us. And some of this has created behaviors over time. And actually the behaviors started way back when we were young that no longer serve us. Okay. So when I mentioned in my post about Dr. Joe Dispensa, and actually we're going to get to that in just a minute, because when we don't put ourselves as a priority, when we have these habits of go, 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 of overworking, of working all the evenings and all the weekends and working on our vacation, when we have the habit of doing, even if we get home and we're doing, and we don't give our mind and our body that active rest, whether that's going for a walk outside of the workout that we do. If we don't give our bodies and our minds that active rest, if we neglect ourselves for long enough, you will and probably are already experiencing physical symptoms. Upset stomach, digestive issues, fatigue, insomnia, not being able to sleep well, whether that's not being able to fall asleep or not being able to stay asleep, or not being able to wake up refreshed. And as I say that, I need to go on. That's so weird, hey? It also takes an emotional toll on us. Stress, anxiety, depression, frustration, these are all actual habitual emotions that we create based on how we're thinking. And we'll get to that in a minute. It also takes a relational impact. So we have a physical impact, whether that's illness, chronic illness, fatigue, any of those things, the emotional impact, the stress, the frustration, the anger, the ongoing anxiety and depression. But it also has a relational impact. And it affects how we interact with friends, how we interact with coworkers, how we interact with family, how we interact with the people that we care about the most. Now, I really want you to take some time and think about, when is enough enough? When have you put off making yourself a priority long enough? Are you going to wait until you get a diagnosis that may or may not be terminal, but that will consume even more of your time and energy? Are you going to wait until someone in your life decides that it's just not worth the struggle and the frustration of trying to keep this relationship going? I really want you to think about this. Where is that breaking point for you? And can you decide to make a change ahead of that? I want to give you one thing to think about. And this is a big piece of the work that I do with my clients is start to look at, start to observe your thinking. Okay? What I really want you to do is think about, first of all, why are you not making yourself a priority? What is it that all of these things that you're doing is providing you? And what's your thought as you go into some of these activities of working in the evening? Start to observe what you're thinking, because we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Most of them, 95% of them are unconscious. And the way that we break these habits, as Joe Dispensa calls it, breaking the habit of being yourself, is to first become aware of what we're thinking. And because so much of it is unconscious, you're like, well, how am I supposed to know what I'm thinking if it's all unconscious? Well, our behaviors are based on how we feel. Our feelings are based on how we think. So we can tune into what we're doing and think about what's the feeling around that? What energy is driving that action? And what thought created that energy? What thought created that emotion? By backing up from the activity, we can start to see and observe and become conscious of those thoughts that are driving the behaviors that we no longer want to do. Because until we become aware of those thoughts and observe them and be conscious of them and watch when they pop up and what they do to our energy, what they do to the flow of the feelings that we have, and how that impacts what we do or don't do, you're never going to make change for good. You're not going to be able to end the burnout cycle. Ending the burnout cycle is an inside out job. We have to start with what's going on between our ears. How is our habitual brain trying to keep us safe? So once we get into that observation and we're seeing what am I doing and why am I doing it, what feeling is driving it, and what thoughts, once we have some understanding and compassion, and I don't want you to do this from a judgmental place, do it from a place of curiosity, do it from a place of compassion, do it from a place of wanting to understand. When we've done that a few times, a few weeks even, then we can start to be intentional about how we're thinking and feeling. Because if all we do, and when I say this, it isn't just affirmations, it isn't just, affirming our way into a new behavior. That can work by, white knuckling it, but by getting underneath those current behaviors and the thoughts and the feelings that are driving them, we can start to transform them. We can start to shift those. And it's then that you're going to be able to make real change. So if this is at all intriguing to you, I know we got a little deep here with thoughts and feelings and actions, and that is such a key piece to ending the burnout cycle, ending burnout from the inside out. You can't force your way, white knuckle your way through changing all your actions. It's getting inside here and figuring out what are the thoughts that are driving the feelings and behaviors that are causing me to not make myself a priority. What are the thoughts causing you to not make yourself a priority? I had one person who said she learned very early on not to be an inconvenience. She was the third of 8 children, and she was, she was the only girl. She had a lot on her plate as a kid, even taking care of all of the younger children. And so her needs were not a priority. Dr. Gabor Mate says that when we have the compulsive and and habitual pattern of putting others' needs above our own at the expense of our own needs, that is a recipe. That is a major factor for chronic illness. So if you're ready to make yourself a priority, click the link in the comments and schedule some time, and let's look at what are some of the things that are putting you on the brink of burnout, and let's see how we can get you out. Have a great day, have a great rest of your week, and a great weekend.